Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Journey to Become a Head Football Coach in California. My name, as always, is Jeff Freeman. And again, I welcome you to another edition. Again, thank you for all the support. And I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays as we're looking forward towards this new year. I'm sure everyone's looking at their resolutions and what they're going to do and, things they want to change and things they want to make better for themselves. Today is going to be probably a little quick. I don't know. We'll see how much I dive deep into some of this stuff. So as you recall, the last video was on the season review, the season ending, season one, how I looked at it, how I reviewed it, and then we get into the off season, so November, December, and the things, my first off season, like what I'm looking into, like what I got to do, how I got to adjust things, how I got to change things to try and make things better as it goes on. So what I'm going to cover just, is a prep, review, schedule, and then I'm going to touch on COVID and how it's hit us so far. It's going to become its own its own little series here in the series because, again, as I'm covering the journey and what I'm going through and what the program's going through and how we're adjusting to it, it kind of deserves its own little mini series. And don't expect it to be political. Don't expect me to give you my opinions on it. I'm literally just going to cover the facts and when rises came up, when we had to shut down, what we did, how we did to make adjustments for the student athletes and for their families and just things like that. I just want to share with you that experience. Again, whatever your political beliefs are, I don't expect that to jump out anywhere, shape, or form on anywhere on that. I'm just going to cover again when things were announced, how we pivoted, how we made adjustments, and what we did and what we are doing to keep our student athletes motivated. For those of you that don't know or maybe forgot, California still has not yet to have a football season. It is slated somewhere to start late January, early February, but again, we'll see depending on numbers rise, fall, how the vaccine influences the numbers. We'll just kind of see how things go from there. So we'll go into prep. So December to March, or approximately November to March, we worked with our athletic trainer to figure out weight schedules, try to schedule meetings with coordinators, ADs, principals, all that stuff, so that way I can get everything underway as far as what the next year is going to look like. Met with my financial advisors so that way I get a budget done, schedule fundraisers, sent out our helmets in November/early December to get all that done. And then, of course, it was focusing on staffing because I did not end up having a full freshman staff. Wanted to revamp that and then plus add some guys onto the varsity. So it wasn't just, the four of us trying to make things work to the best of our ability. So weights, obviously, if the kids were in or if the students were in an athletic conditioning or a weight training course, we didn't, push them to come after school. We opened it up in the mornings at 7 a.m. and we opened it up after school from about 3 to 4:30. So then that way the kids could come right in, get their lift on, and be done. And we took attendance every day, tried to make sure that they were there, tried to find out why they weren't there, try to have conversations with them. If they were in a sport, we didn't. We just say, hey, you know what? You do what your sport's telling you to do as far as the training. You show up during that slot because there was a little bit of an issue there where some students that were playing baseball or that were doing wrestling or track or basketball were showing up during the football training and doing their workouts but not telling their coach. So that caused a little bit of a riff here and there. And it was like, no, I was telling them go during theirs, and I'm expecting them to communicate with their coach, be like, hey, I'm going to show up to this weight training slot because it fits my schedule better, not just show up and not tell anybody. And, and I'm asking them, hey, are you talking to coach? Yeah, I'm talking to my coach. Come to find out they're not explaining it the right way. And then it looks like I'm the bad guy telling them, hey, show up only to the football weight train. Don't go to your other one. So a little bit of a bumpy road there. Got that taken care of. Students did a really good job of taking care of that in December and January and February. Meetings, again, met with the offense, met with the defense. Of course, I was the special teams guy at the time, so I just kind of asked for opinions and things like that on what we were doing as far as, what the evolve of our offense was going to look like. Again, we were under center a lot of the time, and we had split backs. We were talking about moving to more of a shotgun look with our fly sweep and adding a little bit more, intricacies to it and really focusing on our passing game because obviously we had one quarterback coming back and now we were trying to figure, okay, we have that junior that really we were trying to mold, didn't have any bad habits, but really didn't know a lot about the game, so we were molding him. We have a couple people that have played before that were coming up from the JV, so it's like, okay, well, we got some decisions to make. We're going to have a nice little quarterback competition, so we were looking forward to that. Budget, met with my financial advisor. We need some new uniforms because obviously my goal was to have all three levels. So we were going to fundraise to buy the varsity some new uniforms. So that's where our fundraisers came in, and we got to make sure we have everything kind of buckled down. So we had a fundraiser in February. We had a fundraiser scheduled for late March/April, which is basically our student store to get us ready for spring ball. Then we had a snap fundraiser scheduled for May/June, and then another fundraiser for this, and then a fireworks booth, and then we have another BSN store getting us ready right for the season, so that way parents and guardians all can snag any kind of apparel wear they want. So those are our main fundraisers that we try to run, so we get things done and get everything paid for. Amazingly, we finished up. We had, and again, we'll get into that when we get into the COVID and how we pivoted. But that's how we slated it. That's how I did. So that way, there's a little bit of breaks here and there. So those are our fundraisers. Like I said, I get reconditioning out really fast. There's a place right up the road here, about 30 minutes up the road, and he'll come pick them up, or I'll go drop them off, whatever it is. And he's really good, do a really good communication. But send those out right away, get that done, taken care of. And then staffing. I was posting on Football Scoop, the CIF. I was posting on anywhere I could possibly post to get coaches. And by the time, just before March had hit, I had 7 on the varsity, I had 6 to 7 on the JV, and I had about 4 for freshmen. So it was looking really good going into late February, early March, as far as how everything was building. Everything was getting there right before March. So everything was building really well. We were recruiting a few guys to come from other places, getting a lot of different opinions, a lot of different, just a lot of different backgrounds, which was great. Because again, you want to have some diversity on your staff as much as you can, different voices, because one student might listen to one coach better than he listens to the other one. One coach might be a yeller, and that student might, adhere to that. I know I was a big guy that always, I don't know why, I responded well when I got yelled at. If I didn't get yelled at, I thought I was doing something wrong. So, and again, some students don't respond to that. Some students need you to pull them aside, and give them the sandwich. Tell them something they're doing well. Tell them what they work on, then tell them something they're doing well again. You give them that sandwich, which again, that's kind of the new way of doing things. It's been around for a while, but some students need that. And then, some students just need to have a regular conversation. Maybe they need a vent, maybe they're having a bad day, something like that. So staffing was looking really good. Reconditioning was done. I got everything. All this stuff was pretty much done before we went on Christmas break, as far as the weight schedule, had all the meetings set, had the budget, scheduled out, ready to go, had the fundraisers picked and ready to go, reconditioning had gone out, and I had sent everything out in November and December as far as staffing. The only thing I really didn't have by the time March hit was a freshman head coach. I was still looking for one of those. Still am looking for one of those. But I honestly don't know if we're going to have a freshman team this year just because of everything that's going on, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, I don't know. It kind of depends on if and when we have a season. If we're only going to have, 3 or 4 games by the time we're in Orange and things of that nature, we'll see what happens. So it'll be interesting. But definitely am in the market. If you happen to see this video and you're in the Sacramento, Northern California area, and you want to be a head freshman coach, you can contact me, hit me up in the comments. We can have a little conversation and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm definitely still looking for definitely still looking for a freshman head coach. So as far as review, this was kind of the big thing. This is what mainly went down in most of the meetings, which is like, okay, what's the offense going to look like? Again, we wanted to take it up the next little progression. We were under center most of the time. We wanted to move to more of a shotgun look. We want to be able to spread it out because we had guys that were coming up. We're going to have some receivers, at least at the time we were going to, based on everything. We're looking at, having 45 varsity players. We're looking at having some athletes, and we're looking at having some guys that could play receiver and some running back and stuff like that. So we're like, okay, well, we need to spread it out because we're going to have a lot more weapons than we had in the past, and we got to make sure we can throw. So we're going to place a big emphasis on quarterback play and a little bit more emphasis on the passing game. So that was kind of our goal there. Defensively, we had been running a 3-3 or 3-5 look for the last couple of years, and our linebacking core was not as solid as we had hoped to run that, so we were going to switch more to a 3-4 look. We still have more linebackers than we have defensive linemen, and we don't really have what I would consider 2 true defensive ends or enough guys to rotate at a defensive end position. So we were just talking about going to a 3-4 look. We'll see. I don't know. Again, these were conversations we had back in November, December, and January. Who knows? As things move forward, what we end up kind of putting in. as we get close to practice and things like that. So, but those were the conversations we were having as far as, making some adjustments. What's the progression? Do we need to change the defense? What's the progression for the offense? And then special teams, I had taken it over completely, revamping pretty much everything. And the year prior, if you saw the season 1 review, I had taken over field goal, a little bit of kickoff, and a little bit of punt. This year, I'll also take off kickoff return and punt return. I'll take over all the special teams pieces, just so that way it's all kind of coming from one voice, and we have a very specific progression as far as what we're doing. So our special teams should get a lot better, hopefully. Again, if you saw that season 1 review, I was very hard on our long snapping ability, which was not very good. And again, that was partly my fault looking back as a head coach. I didn't put a lot of emphasis on it because, we had guys that could do it, but they weren't practicing it enough. And it hurt us. It hurt us a lot in games. We had 4 punt snaps. We couldn't kick an extra point. And you can't kick an extra point, then everyone just knows you're going to go for 2. And that just kind of makes you a little bit one-dimensional. You can't scare as many people if they only have to practice from one thing. So trying to be multifaceted, trying to be multidimensional. Schedule. So this was the stuff I had to work on. What was our off-season schedule going to look like? Okay, so we were going to be off from November till May 1st, or that first Monday in May, whatever that may be, because we're allowed in California to basically practice from whatever that first Monday in May is. They say May 1st to May 31st. That's what they say is your spring ball option. But obviously you don't get 31 days. So that's usually how that kind of pans out. So it's usually that first Monday in May to that last Thursday. We just go 4 days a week, about an hour and a half. Don't go very long. Just basically conditioning, skill review, all that stuff, some EDD review, things like that. Nothing too crazy. Just trying to get the guys that aren't playing sports, just get them back in the mindset. And then as those other sports end, they join on. And then technically based on the next schedule, you could start in that first Monday in June, whatever that is. And then you basically have up until that July 4th. I think last year was like July 7th, but July 4th ended up on a Thursday or whatever it was, or a Friday. So we're just like, well, let's just practice on that Thursday, and then we'll just see them July 29th, whatever it was. It was July 27th or 29th of this past year. So they get like 3 weeks off, what we call dead period, where literally it's just, you can open up the weight room, let them come lift, but that's about it. So, and that's all we ever do is just make it voluntary. But hey, if you're in town, come lift. If you want to go on vacation, I try to call it active period versus dead period, because if you say dead period, I don't know why. I just feel like that means like the students and the parents and they just think like, oh, nothing. We're not doing anything. Everything's dead. In my head, I like to call it active period because I like to say it's like, no, if you're in town, come lift, come weight train, come do some conditioning, come do some sprints, some agility drills, stuff like that with our athletic trainer. Come do some stuff like that. Stay in shape. Don't just disappear for 3 weeks and then come back. But if you're going to schedule a vacation, that's the time to do it for a week or 2, and then we give them some body weight stuff they can do on the outside of that. So then spring ball, like I said, would just be about an hour and a half. So off season, we just schedule time at 7 a.m. and then from 3:15 to about 4:30, those were our blocks. So from 7 a.m. to 7:45, they could come in and lift if they wanted to, or they could get their lift in the afternoon. And we did that 4 days a week. Sometimes our athletic trainer would open up a 5th day, kind of depending on how he was feeling on those Fridays. But sometimes he was open 5 days a week. Sometimes it was open 4 days a week. And we scheduled it. We had our hypertrophy phase, we had our strength phase, we had all that good stuff. So, and then obviously spring ball, like I said, was about 4 days a week, just for about an hour and a half. Just get them going. The guys that weren't in a sport, for them to come out. Summer ball, season 1, we went in the morning. We went from like 8 to 10. This season, we were planning on doing where we kind of have the JV and varsity practice together. And what I mean by together, obviously not against each other, but on the same area. A lot of programs do that where the coaches coach the JV and the varsity at the same time. So in that way, you're hearing the same thing at the same time, kind of help with progression and stuff like that. And then the freshmen would be kind of not off on their own, but on another field. We have 3 fields we could work on. So that was the idea. So we were going to go a little bit more in the afternoon because a lot of if you've seen my previous videos on my freshmen and JV coaches are 9 to 5ers or 8 to 4s, whatever you want to call them, but they have regular day jobs. They're not teachers and coaches. They do other jobs outside of the school district, so they don't necessarily get off or get summers off like teachers do. So we were scheduling it more for a like 3 to 5:30 or 4 to 6:30 kind of idea as far as our summer ball was going to be. And then in season, just looked at, okay, ended up getting a football class, pushed hard for that, made sure, we made sure it matched, all of the standards. We were getting the juniors, the seniors, what they needed to do to graduate, and made sure they were filling PE requirements through that class. But it also helped just to see them. We'd be seeing them 5 days a week in a class, seeing the football team as much as we could. It was very nice. Again, if you can get a football class, I recommend doing it. Obviously, it didn't pan out as well as we'd like to this year because we ended up not going to school yet, which again I'll cover in a later video. But in season, the idea was, to get the lifting and to get the film review and all that done during class, so then we could go out and hit practice right away and get going. I have heard of programs that kind of do it the opposite way, where the football class literally is they are doing, they might be doing some offense, they might be doing some defense, they might be, doing some 7-on-7s or stuff like that, and they still have to weight train outside of that class. That sounds like a really good premise and a really good idea. I don't know if every school can do that. I don't know. I don't even know if that's something we could pull off. I don't know. I have no idea yet. Again, there's a lot of things that are bouncing around in my head lately, obviously, with some extra time and things like that. And everyone's like, what do you mean extra time? It's like, well, sometimes when you're able to plan correctly and you're able to get things done and you don't have to worry about, going out to a class or going to a school because you're teaching distantly, you end up having more time because you're at home, you have access to your computer at all times, so you end up actually getting more done or having more time to get more things done. So that's kind of where I've been. I've almost been, in my head, overproductive as far as having just different scenarios in my head going at any given moment and just probably working on too much where certain things are falling behind. But in any case, that's, as I digress. Anyway, in season, that was the idea. And then our pregame would happen during class, so that way we wouldn't have to do it during on a Thursday. We could basically do like a little pregame routine, a lift and stuff like that on a Thursday, and go through some things and go through some conditioning on the field. So that way that would take that place. We could really focus on some things on the field. Same thing on a Friday, just doing our pregame, really focusing on things as far as the IQ piece in the classroom. And then game schedule, that's mainly, working with the AD and finding out, okay, who's up on our 2-year deal, who's not up, okay, who do we want to try and get, who do we want, who do we not want, what's their division, what's their numbers, how well do they do, because playoff-wise, like, you want to play teams that you compete with and, and hopefully beat, and then in their division, they're going to run the table and end up with a high record because then that looks good going into the playoffs. So, year one, we had one team that was in the Sac-Joaquin section, and then we played 4 teams in the North section. We originally had slated is we ended up having 2 teams that were going to be in the Sac-Joaquin section, our week 0 team and our week 5 team, and then our weeks 2 and 3 and 4, or actually, our week 0 was going to be a Sac-Joaquin section team. 1, 2, and 3 were going to be North, and then week 4 was going to be another Sac-Joaquin section team, and then we're going to have a bye week going in the league. So that was going to be our new game schedule. Again, as I'll cover, a lot of things changed really fast. So again, just trying to get that done, and that happened again in November, December/January. I think we got it pegged and done and taken care of by late January, early February, and it was done and ready to go. And to kind of round this video up, again, didn't want to make it too long. The first rumblings of COVID that I had ever heard of were kind of came out in October, November, and December. I kind of heard about it, and it was coming, out of China. You were hearing about it on the news. You were hearing things like that. Really started hearing about more in November and December, and then obviously we started getting cases over here in the U.S. January and February. There was rumors that we might be shutting down. Cases were going up, death rates were going up at that time. That's kind of what they were. That was what their metric. They were going by deaths at that time in December and January and February. They were really going hard by that. So, and at that time, obviously, nobody knew what this was. So we're all just kind of kicking back, just kind of waiting. And then everyone knows right around March, that's when that hit. And it was like, hey, okay, everyone's going to distance learning. Everyone's going home. We'll see what happens. We're all going to shut down for, it was 2 weeks or 2 months or, whatever you want to blow it up to be, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was, to slow the spread, all that stuff. So I met with our athletic trainer via the phone. We talked. We're like, okay, how do we want to do this? He devised some really nice Excel spreadsheets for our classes. I'll share with you those on our next video, what those look like and how we did it, because obviously not everyone's got a gym, because obviously no one could come on campus at the time. We couldn't do anything, we couldn't see anybody. All we could do was now learn how to use Zooms and things like that, or YouTubes or anything like that, and try and get information out to the students at that point. Google Classroom, Google Meet, all that stuff that everyone's still using to this day. So yeah, the first shutdown obviously happened in March. So we pivoted and we said, okay, well, what's the best thing we can do for our athletes? It's like, okay, well, let's come up with an online thing. Let's piece it together on Google Classroom. Let's have some spreadsheets. Let's have some goal sheets. Let's have some stuff they can fill out. And then, yeah, and we did Zooms and we did huddles, which I think is what everyone was kind of doing, is everyone just kind of went over huddle with their team. We did not see our team until June. We were able to come back in June, and I'll cover that in the next video, because I'll share those spreadsheets and I'll share what we designed, what he designed, and then what I came up with on the back end as well. So that's kind of look at, what I did from November to March as far as staffing, reconditioning, getting meetings, getting budgets, getting all that stuff done and taken care of. Again, if you're enjoying this, all I ask is you share it. If you got questions, if you got comments, if there's something you want me to cover more in depth, whether it's reconditioning or, whether it's, how did I do staffing? Like, what was my interview process like? How did I, sift through this or sift through that? Who did I talk to? Who did I not talk to? Feel free to, again, leave a comment below. Hit that subscribe button if this is something that you're interested in. And again, if you learn something, share it. Just share the show. That's pretty much all I ask. And then, and Thursday, we're going to have something on kickoff return. Again, today was on, just beginning season 2. And again, the next video that will come out next Tuesday will be basically June and July, because there's so much that happened in June and July. Again, you're almost getting caught up to where you're almost meeting me on a day-to-day basis of where I'm at in the present. But we'll go over June and July, what that looked like, what practice looked like, how we handled the health ordinances, and how we handled the sanitizing, the cleaning, the equipment, what we did, how we really pivoted hard to create things for our student athletes. And I'll cover that on next Tuesday. So again, thank you so much for the love and the support. Leave a comment below, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Remember, be great, push limits, hold the line. Thank you again so very much, and have a happy New Year. And again, thank you so much.